Okay, we have something really special today. This could be argued to be one of the first times electricity and piano mixed into what could be called an electric piano. Inside this big green box that looks like a TV from the past is something really cool. I love the tweed finish. This reminds me of early Fender amps. And we've got a nice logo from Selmer, London, England. Selmer are known for making some great amplifiers, though this is not just an amplifier. So let's get this open and see what we have. This is going to need some work. I'll put my hands up, but I think we can do it. I believe this to be from the 1950s, so it's really impressive it's still about 70 years later. I wonder if stuff made today will last that long. I do hope so. So now we've got the lid off, we can see a row of switches, and we've got a knee lever for volume, so this thing's clearly upside down. We've got a maker's plate here stating license, Constant Martin, Clavioline. He invented this instrument in France in 1947, but due to how the world worked back then, it was common to license out a product to different manufacturers. So there's a version made by Gibson in the USA, another version in the UK called the Univox made by Jennings. So let's get this flipped over and see what it actually looks like. A few parts have come loose, and hopefully everything's still here. We are presented with this mini keyboard, and it does look like everything is here that we need. I really enjoy looking at logos of the past, and it'd be interesting to see what this instrument would be like if it's still about today. Would it still have the same logo? I'm going to be honest, the keyboard feels so bad. It's wobbly, the key dip is so small, the keys are so small, and look at those accidental notes. But that is the fun of an instrument like this. So let's get these keys put back loosely in place. And now, it looks like the front of the natural keys has like a boss that holds it in place, so we need to be careful of how we angle it in a certain way. I will glue these on at some point, but for now, we're just going to need to give it a clean and it can be loose for now. That's starting to look a lot better. So let's be honest, this looks really odd. Why is the keyboard so high? What's this shelf for at the back? Well, this was designed to slide and clip onto the underside of an acoustic piano keybed, so players could play piano and quickly access these extra keys, similar to how like a dual manual organ setup. At the time, this would have been mind-blowing. Let's get this turned on. Working with old tube equipment can be very dangerous, so make sure you know what you're doing and have the correct safety equipment. I've done some basic checks on this first before turning it on. So the tubes are starting to warm up and we're starting to get some sound. Now these sounds are very odd. I know some of the connectors need cleaning, but even when it makes a solid sound, I wouldn't say it's the most pleasing instrument. But think of when it first came out. There were no synthesizers about. Almost all instruments were acoustic. The switches on the front are different filters, and there's charts that outline different combinations to create set sounds, such as trumpet, French horn, banjo, bagpipes. This would have been revolutionary at the time. The amplifier is a big part of the sound of this instrument, and it has a good amount of distortion that gives it lots of character. I need to give it a good overhaul, and we should come back to it once it's up and running as it should be, and we can see if it makes the claims that it does. Along with all these switches, we also have Octave Controls. Let's get this open and have a look inside the power amp. Now of course we've got a resident spider or two, and it's interesting that we've got 3 different brands of tube in the amplifier, though all of these are English made. It's a little dusty and dirty here, but not too bad, and a quick hoover will sort most of that out. I'm looking forward to getting this into a playable condition again. I know this has seen not a lot of use over the last 30 or so years, so I'm hoping to get it singing and treat it right, put it in a nice environment where, you know, it's not going to be damp, because there's a little bit of sinus here and there on this one. It'll be really interesting as well to make some sample instruments from this, depending on how well it actually sounds. Once more, we've got a speaker driver made in the UK, and it's a little sad we don't see as much stuff made locally as we used to, but oh well. I really like the silver and blue labels, and I like the details in the corner. It shows such craftsmanship and pride in the product. I'm going to remove the multi-pin connector. This connects the amp and the keyboard and should allow us to take the system apart a little easier. And then the tubes need to come out. I think these will be hard to replace, so I need to be super careful with these. Unless there's a reason to change them, these will remain in the unit. Once more, we need to be very careful. We do have exposed connectors here on the fuse. So please do be careful with equipment like this. Inside we're presented with a collection of capacitors and resistors. There isn't even a circuit board. These large capacitors will be way past the best and will benefit from being replaced. Interesting that the power lead doesn't have an earth, so the case is not earthed. I'm going to have to add that. Especially if all the capacitors not fixed in the case. If any of these were to become loose or just touch the outside, that could be quite an interesting situation. Also looking around, this large capacitor looks like it's leaked its special source out. This will explain some of the noise we're experiencing when testing the unit. I'm going to order a load of replacement capacitors for the power amp, and then we'll continue with a video of this in the future where we look at how and what's going on inside the keyboard, because that is quite interesting in itself. I really enjoy looking at these vintage instruments, and as so many years has progressed, so much built, so many new technology features have come. Though the design really hasn't changed that much. Well, that's it for now. Until next time.